start creating visibility in a brand. So I focus on three things: engagement, content, conversations. So I'd literally be starting to build my brand, my lifestyle, what I love, weaving in the business, engaging on people's content. So like highlighting people that I want in my business, and then just being cheeky on the conversations. Like I find it really easy to open conversations, particularly through stories on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp statuses. You know, it's quite easy to get them videos out to 5 new people every day on social media. So I do that and just go all in and level up, I guess.
Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today, Craig White. Hey, Craig, are you ready to make it happen?
Hey, man, it's absolute privilege to be here. Super excited to be creating something with you for the MLM Nation. It's an exciting time in our industry and an exciting time to be alive.
Craig White describes himself as a backpacking beach bum who tried everything before he finally got started in network marketing. Today, we're going to hear his story because he's a multiple six-figure earner with over 4,500 customers worldwide. So, Craig, tell us a little bit about your past. What did you do? What were your backpacking, and how you tried everything? What did you try? And then how did you discover network marketing?
Hey, well, look, everything was legal to start with. I think I was really lucky to have the parents that I had, Simon, because my mum always used to say to me, if you're not happy doing what you do, go and find something else. And, you know, from a young age, I was working at like age 13, 14, and I was a pot wash, like washing up. Then I was a sous chef. And then I was working in factories, picking potatoes off like potato lines. Then this may be before many people's times, but I used to sell fax paper. And I worked for this company for 4 weeks selling fax paper. And the reality is I never sold any. So I wasn't any good at that. And I just went from job to job, whether it was working in a nightclub, behind a bar, in a restaurant, in a factory. I worked in superstores. And I never really found something that kind of made my heart sing. And, you know, whenever I wasn't happy, I was never out of work. I just used to go and find something else. And, you know, from the age of like 13, 14, right the way through till when I was 21, I was always in employment, but never really happy, you know, wasn't really excited about being owned, working 9 to 5, and never really earned enough money. And I decided to go traveling around the world. I moved to an island called Jersey in the Channel Islands, just off the coast of France. Spent about a year there, learned to surf, and then grabbed my surfboard, jumped on a plane, went around Australasia, spent like 6 to 8 weeks in Indonesia. It was about 6 months in Australia, a few months in New Zealand, Fiji, and just had the time of my life. And I remember actually when I was in Fiji, I was aware of network marketing. I'd actually said no to network marketing at the age of 18 because I was probably super immature. I didn't really have any vision or a mission or kind of like big goals for the future at that age. And I was aware of it. My parents were actually in network marketing. I'd said no to them for 4 years. My mum was like, quit your job, come and do this. And with all honesty, Simon, I couldn't comprehend how you could make 50 quid a week, let alone a substantial income. It just didn't sit right with me at that age or lack of understanding, I guess. And I was sat on a beach in Fiji. And obviously when you travel the world, you either go one way around the world or the other way around the world. And I was socializing with people in Fiji that were at the back end of their trip. So they were heading home back to Europe. And we were sat around this big bonfire, like having a laugh and chatting. And somebody said, what is it you're going to do when you get home? And I'm like, I think I'm going to get involved in network marketing. And the reason being is whilst I was in Australia, my parents had actually qualified for a trip with the company they were with to the Cairns International Hotel. And I happened to be in Cairns at the same time. It was like a massive kind of synchronization, I guess. And I remember going to their hotel, like I looked like a beach bum, barefoot, short, super tan, vest. And I walked into this hotel and the security guards, you know, escorted me to their room. And that evening I went down and there was a couple of hundred people from the UK that had qualified for this trip. And I started looking around and there must have been this unconscious internal trigger that was like, oh, network marketing works. And I remember being sat when I said it on the beach, oh, I'm going to go and start a network marketing business. It was almost like looking in the mirror and thinking, where did that come from? Anyway, I returned to the UK in April 2001 and just had this fear, Simon, of going into traditional employment, going back into 9 to 5. And I had absolutely nothing to lose. And I thought, I'll give this network marketing thing a go. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. At least I give it a try. And one thing I've always had is a work ethic. And, I wasn't scared to get up earlier for myself and work harder for myself rather than for a boss. And I kind of I guess in the beginning, because my parents were my sponsor, I didn't really pay attention to them. I kind of thought I'd do it my own way. We try and reinvent the wheel, don't we? We have our own ideas. I think it was like a couple of weeks in, I kind of went back to them with my tail between my legs and said, look, right, show me what I need to do. And what I did have was two things that I think really shaped my future right then. One, I had an unstoppable work ethic. And two, I had a what next mindset. So when I was like, right, do this, I'd go and do it. I'd be like, right, what next? I'd go and do it. I'd be like, what next? About 7 weeks in, to 9 weeks maybe to my career, I remember getting a phone call from the company and I'd actually earned just under £1,500 in that particular month. I'd never earned that ever in my life in employment before. So you can imagine, 23 years old, super ecstatic. And I remember getting a phone call from the company saying, hey, and this guy, Michael, never forget, rang me up. He said, hey, Craig, congratulations. You've won a trip to Rome. And I'm like, I've won what? Because I was that fresh and new. I didn't really know that there was any trips or anyway, because of the consequence of earning the income, I won this trip to Rome on the same phone call. And obviously traveling's my thing, right? Still is to this day. Absolutely love traveling the world, new cultures, communities, experiences. And on the same phone call, he said to me, there's actually another trip that you could qualify for. And it's to Malaysia. It's a double destination, 2 days in Kuala Lumpur and 5-6 days in Langkawi. You could qualify. And I just remember saying, well, what do I have to do for that? And he told me, and that was it. I'm like, right. I was almost like a bull in a china shop. I guess that common saying of ignorance on fire, that was me. And I started to get around people that were dreaming and living the lifestyle, being very successful individuals. And I've learned to become and understand that, we're the power of association, whereas some of the people we spend our time with. So I was around successful people. I mirrored them. I had mentors that inspired me because they were living the dream life. And I always had this mindset of, if they can, why can't I? And yeah, that was the start, really.
Why did you think you were successful? You got pretty quick success while a lot of people struggle.
A pure work ethic. I was willing to learn, and I made mistakes that even 23, 24 years down the line, I'm far from perfect. I'm just the best version that I can be. And, I was just prepared to hustle. I'll be honest, I was young. I had no responsibilities. I had debt. I lived with my parents. And I guess that was a motivating factor that I really wanted to have my freedom and have my own place to live. So I was determined. It was almost like Jim Rohn, was famous for saying, burning the midnight oil. That was very much my mindset. When my eyes were open, I was working my business because I was just 100% all in.
What do you mean by 100% all in? So I think a lot of people think I have work ethic, but give an example of maybe a sacrifice, something you did that really shows your work ethic. Well, a lot of people would not have done that.
Hey, well, look, I'm a big football fan, and I used to play, to a really good level when I was younger until I got injured. And I liked at the time when I came back from traveling, immediately I started playing football 4 to 5 times a week, 5-a-side. I'd be in the pub with my friends afterwards, having a pint or two. I literally, when that trigger, that kind of moment of realization that this could be something to give me the freedom that I want, so I didn't have to get a job, I literally stopped playing football. I stopped going to the pub, and I'd be up at 7:30, and I used to commit myself to other people. I remember actually getting my very first team member, and in all honesty, that it was by accident, and it was probably about 2 weeks in, maybe 3 weeks in. And it was a guy called Ray. I'm not even sure how he found me. He approached me. He became a team member, and I had this sense of obligation and responsibility that I'd never really felt before, but to kind of help him. And I enjoyed it. And I remember then going, because I had no vision to build a team. And I remember then going to my parents and saying, look, how do I build a team? This is cool. Like, I enjoyed it. And I just found that, I got committed to the process. I just did the work. And as I got team members in, I just had this sense of obligation. And, now to this day, like, as you kind of, like we hear, don't we? Strangers become friends, friends become family.
Yeah.
Like, probably one of my biggest strengths today is I get emotionally connected to other people's success. Like, I really want people to succeed. And I think from an early start, I never looked at what am I getting out of this? I was almost like, right, how can I help them? And I don't know where that came from because it was all new to me, but that's kind of how I've built my business over the years.
So if you get emotion connected, I think the downside is sometimes when people quit, it hurts, right? So how do you also get connected for their success to build a team, but then also stay emotionally detached when they disappoint you?
Well, I think, in my opinion, the reality is when someone leaves, it's always going to affect you. It's just how long you allow it to affect you. So, I've had, probably maybe in the earlier days, because, obviously I've been in the industry a long time now. Maybe in the earlier days, it affected me a little bit more. But I had mentorship that always had, look, this kind of someone's waiting kind of mindset. And I was always taught, when you get your first team, when you get the next team member, as soon as they're registered and you're helping them get started, your focus should be to replace them. Because people join you for a reason, a season, and a lifetime, as you know. So I think that emotionally connected to help people succeed, but also, not really taking it personally. And I probably did in the beginning. I think that's the reality. But I learned to maybe just overcome that in time and just understand that it is a numbers game. I am a big believer that, we don't get paid to recruit. We get paid to support people to succeed. But it will always be a numbers game. And I think we just need to go through the churn, keep looking for the aces, keep looking for the good people. And from the many, we find the few, and from the few, a few do the do,
This is my favorite question. What is your worst moment in network marketing? To the point you maybe even had doubts about doing this, but you didn't quit. And that's why you are where you are today.
I'll be honest. I think in that first 6-7 months of 2001, with all honesty, I probably nearly threw the towel in. I can't count how many times, because there's always that frustration. But I'll share this, it's a bit of an emotional story. But when I was about 5-6 weeks in, and my only friend that we grew up together as kids, the only friend that believed in me and wasn't telling me I wouldn't make any money, go and get a proper job, had a fatal motorbike accident. And, it's one of them moments where, later on you realize from great loss comes great strength. And when I look back, I remember realizing that I didn't have this crystal ball, and I had this almost like burning desire to go and chase the dream life that we'd always dreamt of. The houses, the holidays, the cars. So I think the reality that really kind of kept me going. But there was times, I remember that in that month of August, I had 63 one-to-ones. Back in the day, it was nose to nose, belly button to belly button presentations, right? I had 63 one-to-ones in the month of August 2001. And I just kept getting no after no after no after no. Bearing in mind, I was already doing well, but you then think, you start questioning your ability. What am I doing wrong? Am I actually any good at this? Is it worth it? And I just kept going. And I remember thinking, like, maybe I need some help. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. The first week in September, I had 14 nose-to-nose, belly button to belly button presentations. 13 people joined. So I think that was like I nearly threw the towel in, but I kept going. Because the reality is, Simon, what's the better option? There was no better option with me.
Yeah.
And I had this burning desire that I'd had as a dream as a child that had been rekindled to drive a black Porsche 911. And it was always a dream of my friend and mine, Jamie, to live that life. So I remember driving around in a £50 category D write-off Volkswagen Scirocco, dreaming that it was going to be a black 911 Porsche. And that, you know, I remember once nearly throwing the towel in, and then I just remember this vision coming across my mind's eye of this 911. And I'm like, there's no other way. There is no other way. So I kind of burned my bridges, and I was just, you know, I fell in love with being free and being my own boss.
So you did 60 presentations.
63 in the month of August.
63. And this is, you said, the month of 2001?
Yeah.
That's incredible. Where did you find so many people? It was just at your whole warm market list, everyone you just...
I was quite naive with my warm market list. A couple of reasons. One, my parents were like true networkers. They had literally contacted everyone I knew, all my friends' family. My dad used to meet me at work for lunch on a Friday. I never realized what his game was, but he was building relationships. That was way back when. So I was a bit naive with that, but you know, when I got round to that, you know, I did get some good results. But that particular month, it was, a lot of it was very much old school stuff, because that was the day back then, like flyering, word of mouth, kind of 3 foot rules. I mean, I still make the most of every opportunity. Like Monday evening, I recruited a lady from Nigeria, and I was traveling back. I was in Nigeria, and I was checking my hold luggage in, and she said, her name's Udoko, and she said to me, have you got any liquids in your case? And I said, only my skincare. And she looked at me as if to say, you use skin? Well, she said, you use skincare? And I said, yes, and mentioned the company name. And she said, oh, their products are amazing. And I said, oh, do you use them? She goes, no. I said, would you like to? She said, yeah. I said, well, follow me on Instagram. So she picks her phone up while she's working behind the checkout. You probably wouldn't do that in the UK, but in Nigeria, it was fine. Followed me on Instagram. She joined on Monday evening.
That's awesome.
I go to the gym. I've recruited people in the sauna. My wife thinks it's funny just because people start talking. And one of my things is, like, if you're getting in a conversation, I'm always like, what is it you do anyway? Because 9 out of 10 people will ask me what I do. And then I just say to them, look, I help recruit, train, and support people to build online businesses to create financial freedom for them and their family. You should take a look at it. It's a really good opportunity. And most people say, doing what? And I'm like, I'll ping you a couple of videos, and if it resonates with you, we can have a chat. And I literally, you know, that now is like the simplest. I think recruiting for me now is probably one of the simplest processes ever, because of the power of social media. And if you just relaxed and like throw away comments, it just elevates. But yeah, anyway, I digress.
Hey, that is awesome. For those who are watching this on YouTube or listening to it on a podcast, I think there's two main things. Number one is the work ethic of, you know, like Craig was talking about work ethic. He was giving examples, giving football. 63 presentations in a month, MLM Nation. That's work ethic. And then the second thing is, even when you talked about the lady from Nigeria and the way, like in the sauna, it's not necessarily the words you say, but listen to how Greg just naturally, confidently said it, right? It's the confidence that you say it. And I think that's going back to, you talk about ignorance is on fire. People don't listen to what you say. They listen to how you say it, right? The way you said it was just so smooth and confident. Like, oh yeah, what do you do? Right? You should take a look at it. So what was the turning point? Going back to your, maybe your first 2 or 3 years, was there a light bulb moment that something happened, or then things really start taking off for you?
There was a warm market light bulb moment. So I remember going to my first event. So it must have been in the June of 2001. And openly and honestly, I hadn't really approached any of my warm market at that point. And I went to this event, and I went across the stage to get my point of recognition. And lots of people were going across the stage for that level of recognition, doing about 10 grand's worth of sales in a month. And then I was in the hotel foyer afterwards, and I heard this guy shout my name. His name was Darren. I knew him as Daz. And he wheeled himself over in a wheelchair. I used to work with him in a pub in Finchley, London, back when we were like 18 years old. There was no Facebook. I left, never kept in touch with him. He'd had an accident, was now in a wheelchair. He joined the business 2 weeks after I did, and achieved the same level of success as me in a quicker period of time. And he wasn't as able-bodied as me. And there was this light bulb moment. That was on the Saturday. On the Sunday, because I had that gut wrenching feeling that I knew him and he could have been in my team. When in reality, I wouldn't have been able to contact him back in them days anyway, because I didn't have any contact details. But I had that gut wrenching feeling that I didn't want to feel again. So that was a big turning point, because I came back, and that's when I started contacting my warm market. My brother, my two sisters joined, my mum's brother joined, a couple of friends joined. One of my friends joined and, worked with me for about a year and a half, cleared all his credit card debt. He was super happy. So yeah, that was one turning point. And then there was another thing, and it was two things. My mum's, both coming from my mum, and still like my mentor today. She was the first lady in the UK to build a direct selling business over £1 million back in the 60s. And I remember her saying to me, two things. Son, you never earn 10 grand a month with £500 worth of effort. And it was just like, boom. And the next thing, she was really clever. It's actually not something she said. She used to speak to a guy that was a mentor of mine, and he recommended a book to me because I wasn't really into personal development. I hadn't read anything up until, maybe I'd started reading books, but I never finished them. I'd go to trainings, I'd read like 2 or 3 pages. And it was probably maybe 8 months down the line. So I was still doing well based on pure effort. And this guy, Rob, he's still a really good friend of mine. He's actually in my team now. He was super successful, and he was talking about the importance of personal development, personal growth. I was so in an admiration of him. Anything he said, like I took as gold. And he recommended this book called The Greatest Networker in the World by John Milton Fogg. Changed my life. Literally, my whole concept of personal development. Like I've become like a student. I'm always learning. Podcasts, your podcast show here with MLM Nation, anything Anthony Robbins does. There's loads of people who all have our own mentors. I've read many books. I've even authored a few myself now, which is quite mind blowing because I didn't even pass English at school. But yeah, so personal development and that mindset of you'll never earn 10 grand a month with £500 worth of effort. I never forget it. Never forget it.
That's really, really good. I know you're super consistent. How do you stay consistent? What routines and hacks or do you have?
I think one of the biggest things, and it goes back to actually when I was in Rome on that first trip, there was a guy, Andy. I remember him saying, 2 things that had been instrumental in him having the biggest growth in that company that year. And one of them was living by a daily to-do list to get more done. And then the second thing was, and it was quite profound for me at the time, at the end of each day when you think you're done, just do one more thing. And, I'm very spontaneous, Simon. I'm the kind of person that is happy to live with my passport in my pocket. But one of the things I've found is kind of getting organized. Like on a daily basis, I create a to-do list before I go to bed. I do that one more thing like every day. And I've done that for 24 years pretty much. But what I find is when I'm like in the groove and you're on a mission every day, it builds that energy and that excitement, kind of motion creates motivation vibe. And when I then write a to-do list, the to-do list is just rammed with everything because you're excited from what you're doing today. And I have noticed on the odd occasion where I haven't done a to-do list, I'm not as proactive the following day. I'm a little bit more blasé, a little bit more casual. And look, and I'm just addicted to the process. Like now where I am, like my biggest driving force is I'm really blessed to work with some amazing leaders around the world and the overlapping leadership we have as a team. And my mission is to take the business to the top this year because I want to show them that they can do it too. Because I know they've got it within them, but I feel it's my responsibility to open that doorway because no one's done it yet.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like one of my big driving forces, this commitment to other people and to show up and be the leader that they deserve and that I need to be for them. But also at the same time, getting out their way so they can just flourish and be themselves,
Hey, you've been amazing. You have so many nuggets, but we got to wrap up. But it's some quick questions to pick your brain. Okay, and these can be quick one-liners. So the first one is, what is one of your favorite success quotes that motivates you?
Wow. Anthony Robbins, The Power of Association. So the biggest form of duplicating human excellence in the world is the art of mirroring. I believe as human beings, we are the true chameleons.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
Personal development every day.
When do you do it? In the morning, in the afternoon, evening, or just whenever?
So when I'm in the gym, I've always got a podcast on or an Audible. And occasionally in the afternoon, if there's something that I'm watching, like a course or on YouTube, because like typically the afternoon's a time where I can focus on me.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received? Is it mom?
Yeah, I think you're not going to earn you're not going to earn 10 grand a month with £500 worth of effort. But there's so many bits of advice. Like I remember another mentor of mine saying, when things are going well, do more. When things are not going so well, do more.
That's a good one. What is your favorite prospecting tool? So say you have a qualified prospect. You just send them the video? Or do you do a personal video or company video? What?
It's personally created. So it's 2 videos, a 3-minute walkthrough video, and then a 1-minute testimonial video. So short, sweet, just to gather that inspiration.
What's your favorite app on your phone that's not a social media app?
Captions. So it's an AI.
Captions. That's a good one. You mentioned The Greatest Network in the World. Any other 1 or 2 other books you could recommend?
The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma.
What's the book you're listening to or you just reading right now?
The Zen of MLM.
Who's that by?
John David Mann.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
And here's the last question. The $1 million question. You ready?
Yep.
So imagine you had to start all over again and you knew no one. You didn't know your kids. You didn't know your parents, but you had all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. What's the first thing you do or the first place you go to build a network marketing business from scratch?
Social media.
And what would you do on there?
Start creating visibility in a brand. So I focus on 3 things: engagement, content, conversations. So I'd literally be starting to build my brand, my lifestyle, what I love, weaving in the business, engaging on people's content. So like highlighting people that I want in my business, and then just being cheeky on the conversations. Like I find it really easy to open conversations, particularly through stories on Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp statuses. It's quite easy to get them videos out to 5 new people every day on social media. So I'd do that and just go all in and level up, I guess.
As we wrap up, any last words or advice? And then what's the best way our listeners and viewers can connect with you, Craig?
Hey, I think just from an advice point of view, I think, always believe in the possibilities that lay within us, around us, and before us. We are designed as humans to learn, develop, and grow. So, just, really focusing on that, I guess. And to connect with me, you've got my Instagram, Craig White 77, Craig Michael White on Facebook, or even my website, www.passiontosucceed.com.
MLM Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today, you've been hanging out with Craig White. So keep up the momentum. Head over to MLMNation.com, click on the podcast tab, and the show notes with the summaries, the aha moments, and also the links to Craig's social media bios will be right there, and his website as well. Definitely go connect with him and follow him. Hey, in order to be successful in life, in business, and in network marketing, you must help others. So, Craig, thanks again for sharing your valuable time with MLM Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thank you so much again, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Hey, what's up, MLM Nation? Simon Chandler, recap from a great show from Craig White. I love the stories. Hey, if you got one thing, is all leaders are great storytellers. Practice telling your story. Practice, the stories you tell about his mom, the stories he told about him traveling. Even the story of how he recruited that person with the customers at the airport in Nigeria, right? I think a couple lessons here. Number one, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. If you listen to what Craig does, he says it very confidently, right? Confidently, and he's out there networking at all times. Now, maybe I'm not the type of person that like that, I'm more introverted, But if people ask you what you do, he's got the quick one-liner, and he's very, very confident in what he says. And then at the end of the day, it's the work ethic. I love that he dropped a whole bunch of bombs right there. Number one was the one about the mom. Like, you can't earn $10,000 a month by giving $500 of effort, right? That is, so what is your effort level in network marketing? And the second one is, when you're winning, you work harder, right? And that, because you never know what's going to happen. You don't let up. When things are not going well, you work harder too. I think it's a paraphrase of that, but that was a big, big one. And talk about work ethic, 63 presentations in August, right? And 0 signups. I think it was 0 signups, he said. 0 signups. And I got to maybe go back to the recording. But you keep going because you're getting better. You're getting a little bit better. And then from September, 14 presentations, 13 people signed up. It's a numbers game, right? So you may be over 63, but you get 13 out of 14, it was going to come out. And I always believe, if you have a good skill set and you're out there, 1 out of 10 people, any 1 out of 10 people, like I always tell you, tell me to talk to any 10 people, I'll get 1 person to sign up. It could be the secretary here at this office, could be the security guard downstairs, someone pumping gas at the gas station, at the grocery store. 1 out of 10, I can do it. But I may go 1 out over 50. Hopefully you don't have to go over 63 like the great Craig does. But he knows the process. And if he keeps presenting, he will get the signups. And then all of a sudden, 13 out of 14. Yeah, great show here. By the way, if you like this, please, even if you don't like it, it takes a lot of my time. Make sure you follow Craig White. The link to his profiles are on mlmnation.com. Go there. Go check out the show notes. We put a lot of time and attention to. We even put an action points that you need to do, action steps for each episode. Go to mlmnation.com. Click on the podcast tab. Connect with Greg. Leave us a review on iTunes and Spotify. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe and share with our teams. There's a lot of great nuggets here. So that's what I have. I think I took so many notes here. Really good stuff here. And I love the storytelling, right? The people who are, again, going back to facts tell, but stories tell. He's got a good story, and he's consistent, and he works hard, and he works on his income-producing activities every single day. Notice he does his personal development later on when I asked him about the routine later on in the afternoon, because he's doing his income-producing activities the first thing in the morning. Hey, MLM Nation, I'm loud and proud to be part of this amazing profession. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Make sure you give us a review and follow Craig as well. And now it's for you to take action, have some of that work ethic that Craig talked about, and go out there, have a positive impact on someone's life. God bless. Have an amazing day.